After Natalia, I would like to go to somebody whom I have met at the Forum d'Avignon. I said that I want also to show you that there are plenty of fora around Europe where they were discussing about Europe and culture. Forum d'Avignon, it is much more recent than Albach Forum. Albach Forum is almost 70 years old, and I think Forum d'Avignon 7 years old. But it is the French who wanted also to create dans le Palais des Papes, speaking about lieu de mémoire, dans le Palais des Papes, la salle des conclaves in Avignon, bringing people from the cultural world, from the political world, to discuss Europe and culture. And that's where I met Irene Braam, and from Bertelsmann, Vice President in charge of governmental relations. Bertelsmann, an important company from Germany, supporting, believe it or not, a forum where people are debating about the power of culture. And we immediately had good conversations, and we felt that we could have some very good cooperation in the future. And I'm grateful, Irene, that you are here, and also that Bertelsmann is supporting this Congress in Vienna. I thought it was very important for you to hear also the voice of somebody who works for the corporate sector in Europe and business, and you are in the sort of in the communication business, media business, publishing business, an extremely important business for communicating about European culture. And I would like to hear from you, so from that perspective of the corporate world in Europe, what attention, what importance do you attach to this mounting the constituency for culture in Europe and for more culture in Europe?
Is it working? Yes? Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me, Snežka, and thank you for all the great work Europa Nostra is doing, also for the involvement in the new narrative for Europe. Also, I would like to thank the European Commission and European Parliament, and I really do hope that the declaration on the 1st of March was not the end, but it might just be the beginning of a wider dialogue and getting more people involved. Why is it for a company like Bertelsmann important to talk more about culture at European level, to get the people more involved? I think, first of all, we are a company producing a lot of cultural products, but also we are a very old company. We are nearly 180 years old, so we are probably also kind of a heritage. And we are very much engaged in preserving the cultural heritage. We are very active for the time being in film restoration, not only because it's nice to restore films and then you can show them to a wider public, but also because these films influence the creators of these times. So the people of which our company is dependent, because if we have no longer people creating, then we will no longer be able to offer the European audiences with cultural products. Another example is the opera archives, the recording archives, which Bertelsmann acquired in 1994, and which we are currently in the process of indexing, of restoring and of digitizing. And that is not only because we want to make it available to the wider public, and that can only be through means of digitization, because not everyone can go in and touch manuscripts which are over 100 years old, because then they will be gone in 5 years' time. But also to learn more about it, what happened in that time, what was in the creator's mind. And if I take, for example, a composer like Verdi, he had a political message. He had an idea. And as him, there were many creative people in Europe, like Thomas Mann, like the great violinist Bronislaw Huberman, like Arturo Toscanini. They had all this idea of a very united Europe, of freedom and of a cultural identity. I think that is, for us, it is extremely important. We hope that maybe taking the Forum d'Avignon as an example, that maybe we can have these kind of dialogue platforms in the European capital in Brussels, where so many people gather from so many different angles and so many different countries, because we have noticed that sometimes we really ignore what the others are thinking and are doing, and it's such a great opportunity if you bring them all together and try to find good ideas. I wanted what Mr. Swoboda said. I think what you said about teaching. If we do not teach the young people why is there Europe, what was the idea behind, and maybe relate it to a lot of very important creative people, cultural people, great thinkers, we might be able to make them more enthusiastic about the European project.
Thank you. In fact, you were stressing the importance of education, but also in importance of creating really a European public space. We do not yet, we have Europe, but strangely enough, we do not yet have a European public space, and also the media are not sufficiently European. There is not sufficient debate for real European discussion, and that's something that all together we have to do more in the future, and sort of from the political world to the civil society world, and of course the media world and the corporate world as well. Now from Irene Braam, we go to the other end of this row. Since the whole point behind the new narrative for Europe was to involve the artists and the intellectuals, I thought we have to have an artist also here in our panel, and it was great to have Victoria Coeln, artist from Vienna. Some of the members, I think many members of the Europa Nostra last night, where we were freezing, on the freezing night, at 10 o'clock in the evening, we were standing there in front of the Heldentor, where Victoria Coeln has, in fact, it was a private preview for us, for Europa Nostra, for the light installation of Victoria Coeln, which is going to be, I think, on a warm evening. You promised a warm evening on the 6th of May, on Tuesday evening, will be officially sort of inaugurated. And in fact, Victoria, also, we met only a few days ago, and I feel that we you are sharing very much our enthusiasm for building Europe through culture and creation. And in fact, we are talking about new narrative for Europe. You are putting a new light on historical monuments. You have done that on the St. Stephen's Dome. You are doing a Heldentor. But I thought now, in fact, you are doing a new narrative also by new light. You are putting a new light to Europe, and you're also passing a political message. You said that artists are also having a political message. Is there a political message, Victoria, that through your work, through your new light on historical monuments, that you want to pass to Europe today?
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for inviting me and giving me the opportunity here also, yeah, to talk here as an artist, so to raise the language of art. And yeah, this is a very good question. Is there a political message? And I think it needs a lot of courage not to put a message somewhere, but to open a space where you can see something anew, where you can discover something really anew, and then start thinking about messages or not messages, or looking back, looking forward. What do you do now? Yeah? Between the old narrative, the ancient narrative, and the new narrative, what is in between? Do we need something in between? We were talking about the soul of Europe. And to work with light, I think this is something really not only on the surfaces, but the light is in all cultures also a word for the inner light. So maybe also of the expression of our souls. And I think to the question that you were putting in before, the question of why is there no cultural program in the parties? We also didn't have it in Austria at the last election. Yeah, we were looking for it, but it wasn't so easy to find. And as an artist, you really think about it, what's going to happen? And I think we are really very full of impressions, full of what we get from everywhere, and everybody has to work a lot to remain in this cultural level that we think we are living in. And I think in art, you have really the chance, first of all, we are really good specialists in living from a very, very little. So this crisis also concerns art, of course, the last crisis, which we maybe not have anymore, I don't know. But it didn't concern us that much because we know how to handle that one, that we don't have anything. So we are getting strong when the others are getting not so strong. And this is also a very good in, you know, total systems, yeah, in totalitarian systems, they are really very afraid of artists, very. And this must really tell us something. If this language of art is that strong, why don't we use it? Why don't we use it officially? I think the culture has a big, old soul. And this is our heritage. So the European culture has a very old soul that can be understood in between many people, and this is really the heritage. And maybe art, as a part of the culture, is the language. And this is a language that is not a language that can be understood in between us, but it is a language where we, as the artists, can also easily connect out of Europe to every other place. So using the language of light to transport, to transmit paint, color, you can not only, and you should not only touch the surface, it is the medium to transmit one soul just somewhere as a hint to the other soul. So I just use these surfaces because light is not visible. So if you close your eyes and imagine what is light, do you see light? Maybe you might get any idea that you think you see light, but it is not visible. And also our surrounding, every medium is not visible because if you shut off the light, nothing is visible anymore. And it is really a very big, I don't know, mystery for me still, that you have two media, the real world and the light, that are not visible to us, and in the moment they intersect, they are visible to the human eye. So I'm manipulating a medium that is invisible to make something else that is invisible, visible in really another shape. And so this should touch the soul, and I don't want to manipulate the soul, not at all. So this is why I have to really leave the message of my work. You can get your message if you start in your soul thinking about whatever happens, what happened to the building, what happened to the area, and what could happen, and you can now ask, you can have a wish. I think the big problem why we don't need cultural language, or we think we don't need it, are two things. One thing is that we are forgetting, or we already forgot, that art as the language of culture with the heritage is a basic need. It is not something luxury. Art is no luxus. It is really a basic need. And so this is the first thing that we really have to tell. Of course, art market destroyed a bit. Money destroyed it. But it is really a basic need. That is one point. And the other point is that we are so busy that we even forget to cultivate our own soul how much time do you spend? I wouldn't even say in one day. First, maybe I ask in 1 year. How much time do you spend to work, to cultivate your soul? How much time do you give your soul, really your soul, to relax with nothing? To make it empty and to really start, because if something is empty, I can feel it. If my glass is full of red wine, I cannot put in white wine. So first I have to empty. If I empty my soul once a day for 5 minutes, that's very long, you will see what big, big gift you will get. And then you have the place to put in, to really think about culture and art, maybe more.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you. It's always good to have an artist in the audience. Thank you for your inspiring words, thoughtful words, and thank you for insisting on the importance of a soul. And we were talking about the soul of Europe, and we have all our individual souls. You were talking about the old soul, and a soul and a new soul, but stressing, in fact, that fundamental link between art and heritage. I think this is something that Europa Nostra is increasingly also building. We're talking building bridges. We also, the heritage world, have to build bridges with the business world, with the political world, but with the artist, contemporary artist world. And I think also tomorrow evening you will see Victoria will also be with us for the ceremony, for European Heritage Award ceremony, where she will also be present in some way in that celebration of the heritage of Europe that we are organizing tomorrow evening.